Hello, everybody. I am back today with my buddy Alex from Podcast Now, who does a lot of Kingdom Hearts videos as well on his channels. So those will be in the description down below. I hope you will check him out. Good, actual, real life friend of mine. We've been making videos together for a few years now, and we are going to be talking about Kingdom Hearts and kind of the stopgap games. And I want to be careful with this because I think a lot of people refer to these games as filler. Like they say, oh, they're the non-numbered games. I think Kingdom Hearts, and Alex, you can back me up on this, this is probably the one series I can think of in gaming where anything that could be classified as filler is almost always extremely important, whether it has a number on it or not, to the overall narrative.
Yeah, I don't think there's ever been a franchise that the filler to the wide audience would not be considered that to the diehards, right? This is probably franchise number one that's like that.
Yeah, it's and if you're skipping things like you're skipping Birth by Sleep or Dream Drop or any of these things, it's not that you can't enjoy the numbered games still, but like there is a lot.
But God bless you.
Yeah.
God bless you.
There's a lot of stuff you're probably going to be missing, and character reveals that will not matter to you, especially in Kingdom Hearts 3. So today we're talking about the importance of those games and kind of, will they ever come back? I mean, we're in a content drought, I think is the nicest way to say it, between Kingdom Hearts 3 and 4. When I talk about this, Melody of Memory came out in 2020. We're sitting in the middle of 2025 with no end in sight, really, because we don't actually know fully when 4 is going to come out, or if it'll be delayed, or what'll happen. So we're going to take a look at that today and kind of talk about, will these games ever come back, the importance of them, and things like that. But I do have a question of the day for you, which is, what is your favorite non-numbered Kingdom Hearts game? And actually, I'd love to ask Alex this just really quick too, because I think for me it's between 358 and Birth by Sleep. They're neck and neck. It's really hard. Yeah. What do you think, Alex?
That's a good opinion. I actually completely agree. I think Birth by Sleep would be number one. 358's story is extremely good. I'll tell you my least favorite. You might be able to guess it. Is Chain of Memories. Love the story, hate the game. I've always stood on that unpopular opinion.
No, that's where I am too with Chain of Memories. For a lot of people, I recommend go read the manga. It's just or watch my Let's Play on Degenerate Plays. I played through all of Chain of Memories. A little plug there. But with this, I think the first thing that's important to mention is the content drought and the fact that I think everybody forgets that Melody of Memory is kind of one of these games. However, it's also not. And this is going to sound odd, but what I mean by that is in the past, these games were all very, very unique. They would have similar gameplay to the original Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, but like Chain of Memories, it went off on its own and it was kind of doing this very odd card system type thing. Some people hate it, some people love it. It's neither here nor there. 358, it kind of went a different direction with the Nobodies, very unique. Birth by Sleep, it was a prequel, very unique. And there were always a couple of years of gaps in here, but there was never like 5 or 6 years. And then Melody of Memory came out 1 year after, well, almost 2 years, because it was January, I believe, of 2019-ish for Kingdom Hearts 3 to November of 2020, so almost 2 years later. But really, it was just a musical game that just had a bunch of cutscenes and stuff from the games. It wasn't really new material for the most part. So it's kind of like a weird thing where I don't even know if I'd count that. I mean, Alex, what do you think about this? Like, there was always these gap years and there were always these games, but I feel like they used to fill in more of the story, and Melody of Memory is the only thing we've gotten since 3, and it didn't really fill in much or add much at all.
Yeah, 3 was Melody of Memory was a recap, right? Recap type game, trying to do something different with the rhythm, music, and then the last 15 minutes is important, right? The Kyrie stuff, that is, legit, but those are cutscenes. And do you I don't know about you, do you want to go through, because I'm noticing, like, I'm looking now at the release timeline, and I think what makes it, like, not to overstep you, but like I think what makes it harder on people is it's not even just this gap between 3 and 4. If you look, Jay, at like after Dream Drop came out in like 2012, that's really where it started, right? Like from 2012 on, it was remixes, it was Union Cross, right? And it was prologues. It was all of these compilation type things. So Like you look at now, and you look at Melody of Memory again, like you said, not really being a great, stopgap game. It was a 15-minute story at the end, right? And a recap thing, I guess, of sorts. But it's not even just between 2019 to now, which has been freaking forever. But it's also, I mean, really, you look at it like from 2013 to 3, you got about 5-6 years where you really didn't get anything. And now we've had another 5-6 years, right? So it's really been kind of in 12 years you've gotten one game. Would you agree on that? Or do you want to go through like the years of the games?
That's very fair, and that's a good point. It's something I didn't even think of, is that the real era of like really, really adding to the story, it kind of fell off around then. I mean, you did have stuff, I will say you did have stuff like Union Cross, like you said, and Dark Road, but even that stuff's been kind of shut down and removed. But you're right. So like looking at this just really quick, 2002, and I'm on the wiki, so if you have a problem with this, it's on the Disney fandom wiki. It was the easiest way to look at it. But like 2002, you're getting Kingdom Hearts. 2004, you're getting Chain of Memories. And then 2005, you're getting Kingdom Hearts 2. This is probably like the biggest era of Kingdom Hearts content that was close together. Just like very, very close together in general. Where it was like all coming out and stuff like that very, very quickly. And then obviously, you'd go on to get things like Chain of Memories later out of Chain of Memories. But then you had 2009 and 2010 with 358 and Birth by Sleep. And I forgot even in there 2008-ish with the original Coded on phones.
So that's a 3-year back-to-back, And like you said, I think 02 to 05, you had 2 main installment games, 1 spin-off. And then 08 to 10, 3 years back-to-back, you had all spin-offs. So those are both, like, really good eras, and it kind of stops after that, besides Dream Drop.
And then it just kind of really trickles out. And I feel like since then, you're right, it's almost like the last 13 years, I can't believe it's been that long, of Kingdom Hearts has been either phone games, Melody of Memory, or Kingdom Hearts 3. Because other than that, like, you get things like Final Chapter Prologue, I guess. It's very short, and it was pretty much just tacked on to it was the 2.8, right, release?
Yeah, and that was just like they were just using assets they were doing for 3 anyway, and they created that, So even that felt like, oh, well, we could, I guess, just do this while it wasn't distinct, like the other games were.
No, yeah, I'm pretty sure that it was something too where, if I'm remembering right, I think they considered putting that as the prologue, didn't they? In Kingdom Hearts 3, like that Aqua section. So, again, that's kind of like what happened with Konami and Metal Gear Solid with Ground Zeroes and the Phantom Pain. It's like, well, let's split something off to give them something in the meantime. I think that it's unfortunate. We've been having that issue, really, you're right, since 2013, 2012, and I think that people are... I think that the good thing about this is that there are so many other series and movies and TV shows that, like, you'll never be short of content. But if you love Kingdom Hearts, like a lot of us do, and you're very invested in it, you're invested in what happens to these characters and all these things, those stopgap games, which I don't think are really filler, those things like being able to play Birth by Sleep or 358, they were a double-edged sword. They added to the story. Very importantly, they were also thrown on so many different platforms that they made it so a lot of people financially couldn't play them at the time. Yeah. So in that way, it's a double-edged sword, isn't it, Alex? It's like now we have a more streamlined, well, if you have the system, you're going to get the game. But we also have a history of games that are maybe not playable to some people, except through emulation in some cases. Like 358 in particular, it's not playable to a lot of people now. But you're also not getting that story.
Yep. Well, it's like you look at like 2013 or 2012, like right after Dream Drop, right? They had a meeting and they said, I think this needs to stop. Whether for better or worse, to be honest, because, in the positive, like you just said, right? Like after 2012, it's about putting them together. It's about 1.5 remix, 2. And by the way, these are then jump generations, right? So you do it at that range would have been like late PS3, 360 into PS4 era. So you have like you're going on multiple console gens, and the whole point is just to get the games all together. Now the issue is you're dealing with those games which were all made for different systems, and like you said, like we're at a point now where half of them aren't really like I don't know, overstepping again with the fandom, but you know, you think about 358, Coded, you know, those two games, I guess, or even Dream Job maybe more than or in a better way than those two, but Coded and 358 over 2, you know, those are heavily, you know, maybe more 50% not a game than they are a game in the first place, right? So then when you try to make them in a collection, you can't even do it. So it's like, you know, you have two different eras of thought with this franchise, right? And you probably have the golden age of when they made them all, and then this other age of we'll put them all together, but there's a downside to that. And then what we get now is remixes, and like you said, phone stuff, which by the way, phone stuff highly important, but you know, gameplay wise, I think next to nothing. And then like you said, they shut it down, so now you don't even have the story. So I think that just contributes, right? Because if you grew up, like, I don't know about you, Jay, but I got Kingdom Hearts 2 like 05, 06. Like I got it for my 10th birthday. So like I was in it there, and I mean I grew up with those games and Birth by Sleep, you know, I got Day One, all that stuff. But I mean we a lot of us lived through when we were just getting all of these, you know, in between games, and it felt weird, but it also felt good because like they were solid games. But it was like, okay, where's Kingdom Hearts 3? And then now we've lived through 13 years of getting 3, knowing we didn't get anything right before it, and then knowing we're never gonna get, you know, spin-off games ever again, it seems like.
Yeah, and I think with this, it ties not only into how we feel about Kingdom Hearts, like you said, like we were getting these games when we were kids, right? I mean, we'd get it for a birthday or something like that, and it was super exciting, and now they barely release. I think it doesn't even tie just as much into that as it ties into the games industry in general and what they've been doing, where a video we were going to make on my Degenerate J channel was talking about handhelds, and I don't know if that'll have gone up before or after this, but talking about kind of like the death of handheld gaming. And you used to have little devices. You'd have your DSs, your 3DSs, you would have your PSPs that fit in your pocket, and honestly, the development for those games was not as intensive as maybe it is now for like a PS5 title. Like you could make, I'm not discounting what the people worked on. I know game development has always been difficult, but my point is the time it took to make a Birth by Sleep was far less than the time it takes now to make a Kingdom Hearts 4, even from just development standards and what you're putting in the game, the amount of content that's expected, the fidelity, the graphical fidelity, how it runs. Like, I think the death of those handhelds, it almost ties into this a little bit, where unless you're going to make a Switch game exclusively, which could kind of fill that, and you're going to lower the amount you put into it for money and time, like you couldn't release Birth by Sleep now on a PlayStation 5 without people being really critical of it and saying, oh, this doesn't do this doesn't do this, there's not enough of this in there. People were more willing to accept the handhelds and the handheld games of the Kingdom Hearts series for not being as big as a numbered title. And now that we don't really have that, we almost don't have that genre of gaming anymore at all. The Switch, everything's expected to also be a full console game because it plugs into your TV. You know, with the Backbones and the Steam Decks and stuff, they're all expected to be full-on AAA huge things. I feel like there's almost not even a market for what was, in a way, almost like Kingdom Hearts' version of AA gaming instead of AAA. And I kind of wanted your thoughts on that too, Alex, because I think that's something that I think it contributes a lot to why we are where we are, is like the industry moved away from smaller games, and now if you release a smaller game as a big thing like Kingdom Hearts, it's going to be more scrutinized anyway.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think that honestly nails it, because it's like the industry's changed, the time it takes to make these games has changed. Like you said, even at the end, that's a pretty important point. Like, an honest question would also be like, would people accept a coded now? And like, what does that even look like? Because like you just mentioned, even with handhelds and stuff, like, you know, 358 over 2, some of these games that use even like double screens and whatnot, like we don't have that. Like, technology is more sophisticated, but maybe in some ways it's worse because it's not as like innovative as the DS, 3DS. So like, number one, would people even accept a game like that anymore? How would you even put it out? Because like I mean, the Switch is one thing, but I mean, it takes equally as long I mean, sometimes the Switch versions of games are delayed longer than, I mean, it's priorities and all that stuff, but making a game on the Switch 2 is not an easy thing. It's not going to take them 2 years versus 4 or 5. And yeah, you could, I mean, think about that era, right? You could make DS, 3DS, Game Boy, I mean, you can make these games super quick. And remember, some games would have different versions depending on which system they were on, right? That's how quick you could get them up and running. So, I mean, just everything is working against it now. The only way you have Kingdom Hearts spin-off games now, in my opinion, is a birth by sleep type console thing. And that's still a console thing. That's still a 4 or 5 year development cycle. Who's going to make it, right? Nomura only has so much time. They have like that dedicated team. They got a lot of teams, but they seem to be pretty busy. It's like, do you license it out? And that would get messy. Do you actually think about giving other publishers that have developers, would you give them Kingdom Hearts? There's just, everything is working against it, where, we mentioned this in my video and kind of ending it here. I think the sad fact is it's not going to happen. We're going to get 4, and then you might get another collection. Collections are the way, right? That's the only thing we're going to get. Maybe, I think both of us have talked about it, including maybe both of our channels. I do think Kingdom Hearts 1 gets a remake at some point. Again, maybe against our wishes, maybe people are for it, who knows, but I do think 1 gets remade at some point in our lives, maybe even 2, and that's it. 1, 2 remake, Kingdom Hearts 4, Kingdom Hearts 5. That's like 10 years from now. I think that's it. That's like the most we could ever imagine getting.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I mean, I'm not like totally against a 1 remake. I don't think it's necessary personally, but I think it's kind of sad to just kind of see where gaming has gone. And I think if the industry ever changed, because people do hate the content drought thing, and I think they are noticing that bigger isn't always better with gaming, where, you could make a 500-hour game, but if you don't want to play all of it, it's kind of like, well, what's the point? I think that for every Elden Ring that uses every second well, and every location well, you probably have 100 games that don't do that. So if gaming switches back at some point, we start to see a resurgence of this kind of AA gaming era, I could see things like what we got with 358, but in console format as a smaller game. Like let's say you get a game focusing on the characters from Virum Rex as kind of like a side story, and it's 10 to 15 hours long, something like that. If people have an appetite for it, I could see that happening, but only if gaming as a whole started to push back in that direction. I think mostly we're done with that era too, which is sad to me. I don't know, Alex, do you have any final thoughts on it? Because for me, I think about it's going to leave less room to experiment with Kingdom Hearts, and that's what I think makes me sad, is getting a whole game about Roxas and the organization, getting a whole game about these 3 Keyblade wielders in the past with Birth by Sleep. These are things that were experimental, that if you need 6-7 years to release a Kingdom Hearts game, you're not going to get that. You're just going to get the Sora and Riku story, and I love those, but I think you're missing the potential to find something beneath the surface there that we found in the past.
Yeah, 100%. And to end it, my end thoughts, and to go off of what you just said, that got me thinking, I wonder if they think of like genre switches, that you could like think about Ninja Gaiden, right? So you had the 2 Black, you had the remake of 2, and all in the same year, by the way, right? But different kind of studios doing it. 2 Black, you're having Ragebound, which is a side scroller, and then you're having 4, main installment game this October, but right now you're getting the side scroller. So would they be up for like something like, I don't know, it's tough to think about what genre, but could they actually do a side-scrolling Kingdom Hearts, like a roguelike type? I actually think that would be actually insanely cool, like art style and stuff, but can you use that as like a quick way, 2 years, 3 years, however long it would take, studio that's not them, you could tell a small little side story, and you could have it function totally different. I think that would be really interesting and might be a way, but Square Enix kind of has to have willingness, but to be fair, they've done like when they're bringing back Tactics right now, and they've done like the Pixel remasters and stuff. So I think they are willing to try, things that are a little bit different. I wouldn't, thinking about it, I would not discount that. And that would maybe be the only way I can think of. Because like you just said, if you're making an experimental game with freaking Xion, okay, now we love her, right? But I mean, if you're making a game with her and it's taken 6 years, you're not agreeing to that. Square Enix is not signing that check to do development. You're not going to get that game off the ground. It's going to be Sora or it's going to be nothing. So you have to find inventive ways, which is probably 2-3 year development cycles, and you're going to have to make maybe different kinds of games that don't take as long. So I think that's a potential. That's pretty much all I got.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at too. I think in general it's a shame. Like, I get that's kind of where gaming has gone, but it will be interesting to see where the series goes going forward, especially with the release of 4 and after. So I do want to encourage everybody to go check out Alex's channel. Fantastic. But it's actually several channels. One of my favorite I always mention is Podcast Now Back to the Past, where he takes a look a lot more retrospectively at older games. He's done some Kingdom Hearts there before, and obviously it's something he also covers on his main channel, Podcast Now. So lots of stuff over there I hope you'll check out in the description. And Alex, I want to say, thank you for being here. It was a discussion at first. I did not know how long it would be, but it's one that I found as we're talking I'm even more passionate about than I thought I was, because some of my favorite games in the series are the non-Sora experimental ones, and to kind of see it go away, I don't know. It's sad, but I appreciate you being here and talking about it.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And the conversation evolved. I think it evolved in ways that neither of us expected it to, but I loved it. I thought it was awesome. So thanks for letting me be on this.
Yeah, thank you for being here, and thanks for being my buddy. And I hope you guys will have a fantastic day. And as always, everyone, stay shui.